Welcome back to Inside Story, discussing HIV/AIDS in South Africa. Welcome to our guests again from Cape Town, Zaki Ahmed, who co-founded the Treatment Action Campaign in 1998, himself HIV positive. Dr. Francois Venter, a specialist in the treatment of HIV/AIDS. He's in Johannesburg, and Dr. David Colombo, heading up the government health policy, also joining us from Johannesburg. Francois Venter, if I could ask you first of all to imagine what it would be like to be given the $900 million that's been earmarked for AIDS, HIV treatment this year, and you're given the choice of spending it where you wish. Where would you do that?
It would be largely on capacitating our human resources, trying to fix the systems, looking at how chronic care is delivered within this country. In South Africa, part of the problem is that we have enough money for our program. The paradox is that that's not what we want. We're lacking. What we're lacking is the nurses, the doctors, the rest of the healthcare team to actually implement this, and the systems to actually provide care for the rest of a lifetime of a person entering the system. You know, we've got a situation where working people have to come in on a monthly basis to access care, which is very slow, which is very cumbersome, very bureaucratic, and often not that friendly, predominantly because we have a human resource crisis within the healthcare sector as a whole.
It makes me wonder whether,
so
in fact, what you're doing is looking after those who are already seriously afflicted and making their lives as pleasant as possible, already having given up perhaps on trying to go for prevention in South Africa.
I would hate to put the two against each other. I think they're very different competing problems. I think that we have the tools to treat people and treat them well and make extend their lives by decades. What we don't have is the systems to actually administer that care. And I think it's good for us to actually look back, reflect on our entire healthcare system and say, what do we need to provide decent healthcare for the long term for huge numbers of our population?
Zaki Ahmed, let me ask you, the health minister that you referred to earlier on had become known as Dr. Beetroot for suggesting that perhaps drugs weren't the only way for treating AIDS, that a sensible diet would do just as much good. When you hear Dr. Colombo talk about the strategy that the South African government has now, how hopeful do you feel? Because I detected that you felt there was something to believe in, but it's still a long way to go.
We've got a very long way to go, and I want to go back to what Dr. Colombo said. Dr. Colombo obfuscated a little bit. He said that we had a perfect policy from 1994. In 1994, our government under President Mandela had a very good policy. From 1999 until the beginning of this year, we had a disastrous policy. We now have nearly 1.5 million people dead. We cannot bring those people back to life, but we have to question our practices as to what went wrong, causing the deaths of so many people. And what went wrong was a failure of policy, a failure of leadership. Now we're putting that behind us, but we've got enormous crises still ahead of us. What I would like to see from government is an immediate plan on how we're going to deal with TB. Take, for example, Khayelitsha, where we work in Cape Town. The WHO declares that a TB emergency is anywhere where there's 250,000 per 100,000 people infected with TB. In Khayelitsha, we have over 1,400 people per 100,000 people infected with TB. We have XDR, that's extensively drug-resistant TB, which is almost like the Ebola virus for people living with HIV because it's 90% fatality rate. It has a 90% fatality rate. So I would like to see much more leadership at district level. Dr. Colombo also was very proud to say that that 328 facilities are accredited. We know that there are 4,000 facilities, healthcare facilities in the country, and regrettably still, our government hasn't fully agreed to its own plan to ensure that primary care facilities don't have to wait for Dr. Colombo, who's the only person at national level who, together with the National Health Minister, can accredit. If he has to get around to all those healthcare facilities, it's going to take him 14 years to do that.
Yeah,
in that time,
Zaki
many more people will be dead.
That's less than 1 in 10 of the facilities available that is accredited.
Exactly.
Dr. Colombo?
Exactly. And
yeah, I would like to differ with Zaki and in many points. I think we have the leadership in our national minister who has indeed, since we started the comprehensive plan, provide a very strong leadership. If we achieve what we achieve, it's because of a leadership. And well, he is right to differ with me, but that's what I know. And I would like to respect and appreciate the sacrifice of thousands and thousands of healthcare workers who are South African, women and men, who are currently day and night are providing services to people affected and infected. And let's just a bit talk about the quality of care, the package of care is not only ART. The treatment is not only on ART. In all our 4,000 clinics, we provide package of care. And I think
that's not true, Dr. Colombo.
I'm sorry, I'm going to...
That's not true.
We don't have a great deal of time, and I'm going to have to go to Francois Venter here to ask him, as you look forward, Doctor, and your speciality is HIV/AIDS, and you hear the fact that a 15-year-old in South Africa today has a 50-50 chance of contracting the virus sometime in their lifetime. Do you have hope or despair?
No, I have hope. I think that the current political climate is far more hopeful than it was a year ago. I think we've got broad political buy-in. We've got a huge improvement in the leadership approaching this, and a large amount of buy-in from a lot of opponents, I think. And we've got the resources to do something. I think the hard work starts now, which is how do we retool our healthcare system? How do we make this thing into something that's going to work? So I have a huge amount of hope, but I am scared for the future because I see on the one hand a treatment program which we know what we need to do but we're not doing enough of. On the other hand, a prevention program that is failing. And that for the foreseeable future we're going to be treating the failures of the prevention program. We need to get both of them right. And that, unfortunately, is not going to be easy. And we need to make some careful thinking about how to take this forward.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. I know it's a subject about which each one of you feels very strongly. It'll be a long fight in South Africa, but I think on this programme tonight we've seen signs of hope from each one of you. We've been discussing HIV/AIDS in South Africa. That's all for this edition of Inside Story. If you'd like to write to us, why not email us? insidestory@aljazeera.net. insidestory@aljazeera.net. Thanks for watching Inside Story. Goodbye for now.